MASH is no longer necessary in the storyline. That's what a lot of people think about her. And it sucks for it to be like this because I really like MASH, but I kinda agree. MASH has been with us since the very beginning. She's stuck by our side through thick and thin, rain or shine. But her character development has stalled, or maybe even been forgotten by the writers. Now, this is just my opinion, so feel free to disagree or share your own thoughts in the comments. And please, don't take this as me saying I hate MASH or anything. I'm just a humble master who wants to talk about this for a bit. So, like I said, lately MASH just doesn't feel as special in the story. Yeah, she's still there, still fighting when we tell her to, but something feels missing. Her charm just isn't the same. I mean, in part 2, or at least after the Solomon battle. Now let's take a step back and remember what made MASH so charming in the first place. She started out as an artificial human created for a specific purpose, but little by little she learned what it meant to just be a normal girl, a regular person. For me, the most interesting part of her character was her curiosity about the world and how she learned different life lessons from the great figures of history. Think about it. In Chaldea, she learned the basics of life from Dr. Roman, but traveling with Fujimaru gave her soft skills, things like social interactions and personal growth. Remember her conversation with Amadeus? He taught her about free will, identity, and what it means to be human. Or in Okeanos, when she learned from Captain Drake that dreams belong to everyone. And of course, in Camelot, she had to confront her own identity. For me, this was the beauty of traveling with MASH. And by the time we reached the Temple of Solomon, she had even learned about death itself. She started as a blank slate, but through these experiences, she became more and more human. And by the end of the Singularities, she gained the final piece she needed to be a full-fledged human, her own normal body. No more constant maintenance, no more limited lifespan. Just a regular human body like anyone else. That was the end of her growth into a human. After that, all she needed was to refine these human experiences through future journeys. At least, that's what I hoped would happen. But in part 2, we barely get moments like that anymore. Well, maybe it's because this was always the goal. She already overcame the biggest challenges in her life, so now she can finally relax a little compared to how she was in part 1. But at the same time, this kind of demoted her. She went from being Fujimaru's exclusive servant and almost a second protagonist to just another party member. She went from being Fujimaru's partner to being dependent on them, clinging to the senpai title. I feel like her character feels way more stagnant now. Some people even think that with Holmes around, her role as the team's analyst is basically gone. They said it used to feel like detective work, piecing together myths, legends, and information to find a way to defeat an enemy. Now she's pretty much just a cheerleader. Okay, that's harsh. Not only that, but there are also moments where she just avoids stepping up emotionally or maturing, and Fujimaru just laughs it off instead of holding her accountable, even though they keep taking on more and more burdens. Like in Olympus, when everyone agrees she's the middle sister, but she immediately goes, "No, I want to be the little sister." It's a small thing, but to me, it feels like she always wants Fujimaru to be her caretaker rather than growing alongside them. She started as someone eager to experience the world, but now she just seems content coasting through it. Some people even say they don't really care about her in part 2, and that she should have died in Solomon because she still has the same problems she did in part 1. Mainly reacting to how Fujimaru feels rather than growing on her own. I guess I can understand the frustration. We thought, or at least I thought, that her interactions with the Cryptors should have been a major trigger for her growth into a normal human. You know, since each of them has their own distinct style and morals, but their dynamic doesn't feel well developed. She exchanges a few lines with them, and that's it. Even with Ophelia, who was supposedly the Cryptor she was closest to, she barely spoke to her, making her intense grief over Ophelia's death feel somewhat hard to believe. I feel like only one person really filled that role, Pepe. Because of how close we were to him in India, he actually got through to Mash in ways others didn't. He could talk to her directly and offer guidance without it turning into some dramatic life-or-death duel. You know, when they finally met and started talking, it felt so refreshing, like we finally had someone we could talk to and relate to. I think this is also one of the reasons why so many people really like Pepe. And for all those reasons, I came to the conclusion that Mash's character hasn't really grown since Solomon. I mean, yeah, being an ordinary person is totally fine. I'm just an ordinary person too, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel satisfying. Yeah, that's the right word. It's not satisfying. She reunited with people who played a huge role in her life, people who should have triggered some kind of development in her, but their interactions felt so lacking, except for maybe one or two. So when they set off for Lost Belt 6, I was actually happy, because Mash finally got separated from Fujimaru. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I didn't want Mash in the story, but after going through that chapter, I realized something important. I feel like Mash has always been the one responsible for reacting to how Fujimaru was feeling, and that kinda hurt both characters. It made Fujimaru feel bland. Think about it. Fujimaru almost never shows any sprite expressions in the story. It's always Mash who appears with different expressions to reflect the situation. So with Mash out of the picture for a while, we finally got a story that fully focused on Fujimaru. Plus, Mash had to act on her own without her senpai, which meant she could actually grow as a character. I think that's also why Fujimaru felt way more expressive and involved in Lost Belt 6. Besides the fact that Castoria naturally clicks with Fujimaru, I'd say Mash not constantly showing up on screen played a big role too. And I feel the result was amazing. Every time Mash did something on her own in Lost Belt 6, it was always intriguing. Yes, we didn't get to see her often there, but that's fine because she had her own adventure, and it was fun to see. Unfortunately, this was just a special occasion since Mash happened to get thrown far away from Fujimaru. So, yeah, I really hope she gets a new goal for herself moving forward. And also, okay, I know this isn't exactly a priority in FGO's story, but I really wish there was some progress between Mash and Fujimaru. I mean, come on, they've been teasing how much they like each other, and we even got that lewd hand-holding scene in public. But somehow, there's still zero progress in their romance. Again, I get that it's not the main focus. Honestly, at this point, Fujimaru seems to have better chemistry with other characters. Just look at Mandricardo, Castoria, Musashi, or even Jolter. They all vibe really well with Fujimaru, especially Castoria and Musashi. Sometimes they feel like siblings, childhood friends, or even like a real couple. I swear, if FGO had a dating or marriage feature, those two would definitely be on the list alongside Mash. Well, after rambling on for a while, I guess I have to admit that everyone has their own pacing. And for now, let's just say, Mash is still looking for a new purpose. And maybe we can look at it like this. Part 1 was Mash's story, where she had to figure out who she was and become a normal girl, and she succeeded. Part 1.5 was the transition phase, where both Fujimaru and Mash thought everything would be fine. Part 2 is Fujimaru's downfall, his story of breaking apart and rebuilding himself. And from what I've heard, Ordeal Call also gives Fujimaru a lot of character development. I haven't played it yet, but if that's true, then maybe this is his uprising phase. So what I'm trying to say is, we gotta admit that Mash's time in the spotlight is done for now. It's Fujimaru's turn. Now, I don't really know what the JP content is right now, but I hope this video doesn't contradict it. I mean, I'd be embarrassed if that happened, but if it does, that also means they fixed her involvement in the story for the future. I can't wait if that really happens. So that's it for now. Click subscribe and I'll see you guys next time.